Hi there, I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐿𝐴𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last show of the day, the last trade. Let's get started with today's market close commentary. Australian shares were trading lower on Monday towards the close, dented by banking and technology stocks, while tighter lockdown curbs also weighed on market sentiment. Lockdowns have been imposed in Sydney and Darwin, and new restrictions are in place for Queensland after another 18 locally acquired cases were recorded in New South Wales. The coronavirus-led restrictions pose a new threat to the country's reviving economic growth. The S&P ASX 200 is up just 0.20 points today to 7,308.20 before the closing. Earlier today, the index opened on a weak note, undermining firm cues from US markets and declined as much as 0.5% to touch the intraday low of 7,273.70. On Friday, Wall Street ended mostly higher as weaker than expected inflation data and news that US President Joe Biden has signed a bipartisan infrastructure deal boosted market sentiment. The equity market witnessed mixed trading today, with 6 of 11 sectors closing lower. The IT sector was the worst performer, falling 3%, and among others, AREIT, industrials, and financial telecoms, as well as energy, also settled in red. Bucking the trend, consumer staples emerged as a winner with 1.6% gain. Healthcare, consumer discretionary, materials and utilities also closed higher with decent gains. COVID-induced restrictions in the states and cities have boosted demand for stay-at-home stocks, with online retailers emerging as the top gainers. Temple and Webster Group Limited shares rose over 10%, while Kogan.com Limited gained 6.5%. Harvey Norman Holdings and JB Hi-Fi are also trading higher. And panic buying at supermarkets also propelled a rally in retail stocks. Woolworths Group, Coles Group Limited and Metcash were among the top gainers. Meanwhile, travel and tourism stocks were trading in the red as Sydney increased its list of exposure sites. The state has imposed lockdown to stop the spread of the highly infectious Delta coronavirus variant. Travel stocks like Qantas, travel agency Flight Centre, and Webjet Limited were reeling under the selling pressure. In the financial space, out of 4 big lenders, 2 ended in green, while others remained closed. Westpac Banking Corp and Commonwealth Bank settled in green, and Australia and New Zealand Banking Group and NAB ended lower. Moving on to the top gainers and losers, Redbubble, a global online marketplace for print-on-demand products, was the top percentage gainer on the ASX, rising 8.5%, while online retailers like Kogan.com, supermarket giant Woolworths, and among others were the top gainers. On the other hand, buy now, pay later firm Afterpay was the top laggard with a 7% loss. Australian gold producer Gold Road Resources, payment solution firm 𝐊𝐴𝐴, and Webjet were among the notable losers. And now, before we look at the shares that are in the news today, it is time for a short break.
Crypto Talk by 𝐊𝐴𝐴. The crypto market has been red hot, given the Bitcoin rally since the past year. And now the most famous cryptocurrency has got competitors, Dogecoin and Ethereum. If the crypto market excites you, tune in with me, Sage, to know the latest developments about the existing digital currencies and the new ones that are joining the race. I'll help you understand the opportunities and the risks the crypto market has in store for you. For all the digital currency related developments, continue watching Crypto Talk by 𝐊𝐴𝐴.
Welcome back, I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐴𝐴 TV live from Sydney. This is the last trade. Let's have a look now at the ASX listed companies that are in the news today. Shares of educational course provider Red Hill Education Limited rose as much as 18% to 91 cents Australian on signing a pact with iCollege. The company has entered an indicative and non-binding term sheet with iCollege Limited to provide exclusive due diligence for the proposed off-market takeover offer by ICT. The company stated term sheet will be contemplating an increased offer price to 9.5 shares in ICT for every 1 share in Red Hill. And moving on, shares of medical services maker Atomo Diagnostics soared 59% to 22 cents on receiving a nod for its COVID-19 test kit. The firm shared that the COVID-19 antibody test developed with South Korea's Access Bio has got emergency authorization from the US FDA. Atomo announced that both companies are discussing commercial arrangements for the rapid test launch. And next up, shares of online outsourcing marketplace Freelancer rose as much as 8.9% to 1.2 Australian after the company stated it had secured a NASA contract to improve the speed of the US Bureau of Reclamation's sedimentation and river hydraulics project. And pharma company ProBiotech gained as much as 6.6% to $2.26 after the company informed the exchange that it had agreed to terms to buy Sydney-based H&H Packaging for a total of up to $4 million. Meanwhile, Joyce Corp jumped 7.3% to $2.79 on a robust outlook. The home furnishing firm stated that trading environment in the second half of fiscal 2021 has been stronger than the last year, backed by robust demand. And things aren't looking so good for Gold Road Resources, whose shares fell as much as 8.8% to $1.29 after quarterly forecast disappointed investors. The Gold Explorer has forecasted lower than expected gold production for the June quarter at its 𝐊𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 gold mine due to disruptions. The company stated disruptions at its 𝐊𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 gold mine operations included a torn mill feed conveyor belt, which resulted in temporary repairs and reduced processing rates. But on the up and up, shares of motor vehicle seller Autosports Group jumped as much as 6.6% to $2.06 Australian on a positive FY21 outlook. The company stated it expects this year's total revenue to be between $1.92 billion and $1.96, an increase of up to 15% on last year. And the company had also entered into an agreement to acquire 80% interest in John Newell Mazda, a new and used vehicle dealer in Alexandria, for $16 million. Another skyrocketing stock, shares of Yogi Limited rose as much as 29.629% to 17.5 cents, marking their biggest intraday percentage gain since the 3rd of September 2020. The cloud services provider shared that it had signed an agreement to expand its presence to 18 Asia-Pacific countries. The company had said that agreement is for a minimum of 3 years. And moving on, shares of Infinity Lithium Corp rallied as much as 16% to 95 cents after the company signed a deal with South Korean battery producer LG Energy Solution. The company will supply battery-grade lithium hydroxide to LG Energy Solution for at least 5 years from its Spain-based San Jose project. And wholesale grocery distributor Metcash Limited climbed as much as 3.6% to hit a 2-month high to $3.79. The company has raised its dividend and announced a share buyback and strong full-year results. The company stated it will pay a final dividend of 9.5 cents per share, taking its total for the year to 17.5 cents, which is 40% increase from a year ago. And lastly, Tesoro Resources reported assay results from extensional and infill resource definition drilling at the Ternera gold deposit. Boosted by the development, the share price of the company rose 3.5% to 150 cents. Not half bad. But before we cross continents to the Asian markets, it's time for a short break.
Tune in to get the latest information.
Whether it's about market movements or the currency graph,
Sectoral coverage or industry news.
we cover it all on our news segments.
Be on top of the latest news
With 𝐊𝐚𝐥𝐤𝐢𝐧𝐞 TV. Welcome back to The Last Trade. I'm Holly and you're watching 𝐊𝐚𝐥 TV live from Sydney. On to the Asian markets now, which stayed under selling stress. The region's stocks continued to witness selling pressure after making a weak start today, undermining firm cues from Wall Street. Japan's Nikkei was down by 0.15% and Shanghai's composite dropped 0.02%, pairing early losses. Seoul's Kospi was also trading lower by 0.1%, and Taiwan's index rose 0.35%. New Zealand's benchmark S&P NZX 50 was down 0.2%, while India's BSE Sensex traded lower as well by 0.27%. On Friday, Wall Street ended mostly higher as weaker than expected inflation data and news of US President Joe Biden's signing a bipartisan infrastructure deal boosted market sentiment. Blue chip S&P 500 rose 0.34% and the Dow Jones surged 0.71%. Nasdaq tech-heavy composite finished with the original losses. And moving on now to the crypto space, where Bitcoin, Ether and other coins are trading in the green. Cryptocurrencies continue to trade higher during the Asian trading hours on Monday. However, concerns about regulatory crackdowns and environmental issues limited market gains. In a fresh development, Britain's Financial Conduct Authority has banned Binance, a popular cryptocurrency exchange platform offering certain services in the country without a prior written consent letter of authority. The UK's financial watchdog has alleged that the cryptocurrency exchange lacked authorization. Binance allows investors to buy and trade cryptocurrencies online. Bitcoin, the largest crypto by market value, was trading 4.8% higher at $34,522 US. The price of Bitcoin has struggled near the $35,000 level as settlers react to extreme overbought conditions since March. The concerns over tighter monetary policy in the US also dented demand for cryptos. And Ether, the second largest crypto, gained 5.4% to 1,975 US, while the meme currency Dogecoin rose 3.5% to 25.57 US cents. But before we wrap up, an update coming to us from the one very locked down state. You might have thought we learned our lesson with the last wave, but apparently not, as panic buying is back with a vengeance. To see stores selling out of the essentials, with the primary victim being toilet paper as usual. This has prompted Woolies in New South Wales to restrict the purchase of the product, introducing a 2-pack per shop cap on toilet paper. As more supplies gradually arrive from their distribution centres, panic-stricken shoppers will have to fight their primordial urges to stockpile. That is, if they don't want to see more empty shelves. Well, that is all for now in the last trade. With our existing operations in Australia, New Zealand, the UK and Canada, 𝐊𝐚𝐥 Media has launched its operations in the US markets as well. Every day on our first show, the Global Market Updates, you can get the latest and most important news from the US and UK markets from overnight happenings. So on that note, I'll see you tomorrow at 10:30 a.m. live from Sydney. Holly Shields signing off.